Alright, hey folks, I want to make a follow-up to my Divinity 3 video that I made a few months ago now. I did make some comments that I've pinned on the video after the fact, well after the fact, just expanded some thoughts, but I want to make a follow-up. There's a few things I want to talk about that I didn't necessarily mention that are important to me as well. And the main catalyst really for me making this follow-up is a comment I got from a guy who just wants me to give a visual representation of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, why I think it's such a departure in Divinity 3, and what the benefits, like just kind of my affinity towards 1 and 2. And he wants to see it, he wants an explanation, and I'm happy to provide that, that's for sure. But yeah, I don't like using the word lazy with games, but I feel like if you point to Divinity 3 is the prime example of that. It really is. It's a copy and paste template of the Divinity games. They've already got the assets there, and they are just pasting it into this IP. They're essentially robbing the IP because no one else gets a chance now to make a true sequel, which this isn't at all. And they're morphing it. They're morphing its whole identity to be like something it isn't, which is just utterly sad. I'd have rather the franchise stay dead than to be resurrected 20 years later for this shit show, which I think it is. I think it's just them trying to capitalize on an established IP because they have goodwill for Divinity, and they're hoping that goodwill is going to overshadow the criticism, which sadly it seems to be that's what's happening. But I've seen plenty of people unhappy with how things are going. Just before I do get into the gameplay, I want to take the opportunity now to talk about things I didn't necessarily cover in my first video. So bear with me with that. It's probably going to be a bit meandering, I'll admit, but I am going to get into gameplay and show you some of that and talk over that as well. So don't worry, that will happen. So I wanted to talk about the comments a bit I had on the video, and I've got a range of comments, positive and negative, of course, people agreeing with me, disagreeing with me. And I'm not going to frame this whole conversation that I've been, drumming up as objective. It's very subjective, of course it is, These are my opinions on the gameplay systems, why I think one is a higher quality over the other, particularly with regards to Divinity, because I think there's excellent turn-based games out there. So it's a very subjective conversation. I think people are getting the impression I'm trying to frame everything as a fact. I think it's a fact that they are being lazy about it by copy and pasting a template over from Divinity. I think there's factual elements in what I'm speaking about, frankly. But in terms of the enjoyment factor, obviously that's subjective. But I think I can make a case for it when I get into the gameplay afterwards. I'll talk about it some more. But in terms of the comments, one of the most common things I'm seeing from people is mentioning that the gameplay isn't really what drew them to Baldur's Gate at all, or just the genre change isn't a big deal to them. They just don't think it's a big deal, it doesn't bother me. It's kind of surprising to me, because I feel like Baldur's Gate's gameplay systems, I think the word I'd attribute the most is organic. It's the most organic gameplay system. Like, you have complete control over your party, over summons, over allies, at any given time. It's not turn-based, so you're not just waiting around for a character's turn. You are in the action constantly. You can pause, you can plan out your strategy, which I love. There's just not many games that let you do that anymore. And honestly, rather than them dredge up the Baldur's Gate IP and try to morph it into something it isn't, I would much rather the franchise stay dead than them dragging it up and not giving any other studio a chance to make something faithful to the prequels. We're going to get onto the story, because I didn't talk about story elements as well in Baldur's Gate, and how, frankly, the story can even continue. I'm not sure what they're going to do. There's a few things I want to talk about just quickly before that. I told you this video was going to be a bit meandering. I want to get my thoughts out there. So I think you pronounce his name Sven Vink or something like that. I think he's one of the heads of the studio. He's in charge of the game. I can't remember his position exactly. I mentioned this in the comment too, but I just think the way he announced the game genre was just disrespectful as hell. And it's a defense a lot of damage controllers in my comments are doing as well. About, D&D is turn-based. I knew people, that's why I mentioned it in the video. I knew people were going to point to, D&D is turn-based, so how is it not faithful? Let me ask you this. How is it faithful to the video game franchise of Baldur's Gate, which was never turn-based? It's as simple as that. It really is that simple. Nobody has been able to come to me with a counter-argument as to why they could not have prioritized real-time with pause and given a turn-based option secondarily like Pillars of Eternity did. I'm still waiting for a counter argument. I'll wait. I'll wait. Okay, I'll keep waiting. Going more into Baldur's Gate 3, we'll talk about the story soon as well. Graphics, I feel like, are nice on a surface level. Character models look really good, to be fair. I'll be fair, but I watched some more of it recently, and I had to turn it off for one, but the stuff I saw looked terrible. In terms of the animations and the cutscenes, in particular in the cutscenes when they like zoom in on the characters, it looks really janky. I'm not just saying that, just, you know, if I'm being fully objective, I think it looks really janky. It honestly reminded me of Mass Effect Andromeda, and you don't want to be reminded of that when it comes to animation quality. Like, it didn't look good, I'm sorry. It looked janky. And in terms of visuals, again, it's not faithful. From an IP perspective, it's not where I want it to be at all. It's, again, we know what it's doing. It's going for Divinity. It looks just like Divinity. They've got that template. They've got that engine. They've got those assets. They're pasting them. I don't know why people just try to ignore what's in front of their face. It's lame. This is not Baldur's Gate. I'm sorry. So just to touch upon the story quickly, because I'll never get to it otherwise. I'm going to be spoiler free with this, just out of respect for people that want to play the older games. But all I will say is that Baldur's Gate's story is finished. The fundamental conflict they covered in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 and the expansion, Throne of Baal, is over. By the time of Throne of Baal's ending, it's concluded. So that kind of takes... Immediately, as I knew about a sequel for Baldur's Gate, I was just thinking immediately, where are they even going to go in the story? It was always something I was cautious about. And it kind of makes me think about the people in my comments who are saying, the main reason I like Baldur's Gate, or the only reason, was just the story. That's what made it great to me. Well, that should make you cautiously optimistic, if anything, if you are even optimistic about this at this point. Because where are they going to go with the story? Is it going to be as interesting? I certainly don't think so. But yeah, that's just me from what I've heard and what I've seen and what I know of the other games. There was another comment I hearted on my original video. You can't pin 2 comments, so I just hearted this one. But it was actually a kind of important find, I thought. I was just looking around for information at the time, just to see if any news had come out, or if they'd started talking more about why they didn't go real-time with pause. And I found something from one of the Larian senior developers. The article is hearted on my original video, so the link is there if you want to see it. Just go there and have a look. But I'll read the quote out here. So he said, "I'm critical of real-time with pause because I think it looks messy. It's like a miss pause, give 3 orders, and miss pause. Also, I don't believe that sticking to the old system can expand to a greater audience. The thing with turn-based logic is that everyone understands it. It's my turn, it's your turn, and we have this experience with it. It worked for us with Divinity Original Sin, and it worked for us with Divinity 2, and D&D is turn-based." I'm honestly surprised he came out and just said all that, to be honest. When I read it, I was like, so for one, you're admitting that your motivation for usurping the IP and changing the genre so you can change it to expand to a greater audience who's more familiar with turn-based combat systems. The second thing you did here is fundamentally just admitted that you've used your template for Divinity and pasted it over this established IP, which is insulting as well. And I don't understand. I feel like his criticism is entirely baseless for real-time with pause. It doesn't make any sense to me. So what he says here is, it's like a miss pause, give 3 orders and miss pause. Isn't essentially what he's describing a turn-based game, except slower? Because you can send a character in to hit and they might miss, then you have to wait till they get another turn, or till the next character goes. The difference is, in real-time with pause games, I can send my knight in to start hitting an enemy, and you know what else I can do? I can buff him up, I can haste him to make his attacks faster, and at the same time I can be having my mage casting defensive or offensive spells, and I can be having my priest casting spells or summoning allies to help in the fight. I could be having my archer shooting in the background, I could be having my thief hiding in the shadows and backstabbing enemies. I can have all this going on at the same time, at will. What he is telling you here is he doesn't trust you with such a complicated combat system. He doesn't trust you and they don't trust you with that level of freedom. So instead they're simplifying it And it has multifaceted benefits for them as a studio. The copy and paste template element, the fact that they're purely comfortable with the turn-based systems they have in place in Divinity. And it just cuts out the work, and it potentially expands to a greater audience because everyone is familiar with turn-based gameplay. And, you know, the impression I get is he seems to think our minds are too little to handle anything else or anything more complicated with more going on and more options. I guess the final thing here before I get onto the gameplay and talk about that is I'm getting kind of tired, and he said it here in his quote, of the fact that people are just saying, oh, well, D&D is turn-based, so, you know, this is fine, this is faithful. Baldur's Gate is not turn-based. Never was. Shouldn't be. I just don't understand why people aren't grasping that and how people like me are disappointed. Now, personally, in terms of Dungeons and Dragons, I've never played a board game of it. Never played it like that. I don't care to. I love Baldur's Gate. I love the Forgotten Realms. I think the lore is awesome as well. It's very interesting, very complex, so much going on, so much to learn. It's awesome. I love the universe. I don't care about D&D separately being turn-based. This is not a D&D board game, okay? It's a sequel to an established IP developed by BioWare originally that utilizes real-time with pause. And it should have stayed that way. Otherwise, if they didn't want it to stay that way, they should have stayed away from Baldur's Gate. How about that? And with that being said, I'm going to show some gameplay and we'll talk through it a little bit. Here we are in Baldur's Gate 2, the expansion Throne of Baal. I've just imported a party into this just to show you a few things and get into a fight as well to show you that and how combat works. And one of the things I'm limited with here, unfortunately, is that Shadowplay does not like to record this game in full screen for some bizarre reason. So I'm in Borderless with the Borderless window program on. So I have to use the arrow keys to scroll the screen. Usually you'd be able to press it up, but it would scroll along the screen, which is how I play and how I think everyone plays. So this is weird to me, but it's the only way I can really record this right now. So it's what we're doing. So I got party here. Very basic, just imported party with some preset equipment because it's the expansion. Got a sorcerer, a fighter, a thief, and a cleric. I've already written spells for the cleric here, so we can go all the way to the max with cleric spells, which is nice. The sorcerer, not quite the same. I don't have level 9 or 10 spells, which are some of the most fun in the game. When you start getting those, it's just amazing. Like, you don't get, like, you could. There's time stop spells, there's improved alacrity, which lets you shoot spells continuously as you pause. It's insane how strong you can get as a mage in this game. And as other classes too. When you start hitting those thresholds, they get really powerful. It's a lot of fun. So, movement speed is just... Well, I've got pause of the cheetah on, which doubles your movement rate here. So, that's your normal movement speed. Kind of slow, but got one of my favourite spells, Haste. All of a sudden, we're booking it a bit. This is the enhanced edition, so there are things that would change. I'm not a huge fan of, but it's the most accessible, and I know some people don't like the enhanced edition, but if you put Pause the Cheetah on with haste, you go even faster, which I like. It's great for traversal, to be fair. So, yeah, in terms of the game, this is the game. There's no transition into a combat scenario to where everything changes. This is the game. It's all organic, you can do what you want. And it's the same in combat. So right now I'm pausing the game. Spacebar to pause anytime. You can pause as much or as little as you want. Again, full control. While he's casting a summoning spell, I can put her in the shadows as a thief. Which means she can get a backstab, which I'm going to try on this enemy here. Well, I say enemy, it's more of a summon that I can also control. I can get behind him, and she's actually got a staff on, which I don't want. So let's try this. There you go. Quintuple damage. Again, this is all organic, so you can do this in Q to quick save, so I'm just going to do that now. You can do all this kind of stuff individually with party members during a fight. It's all real time. Real time with pause, of course it would be, but I'm just trying to kind of illustrate it a bit more. So what I also want to do,
just name what you want. Something you need.
I picked a number of some of my favourite spells for Sorcerer as well, just the preset ones I can get. I think I heard them talking about Limited Wish and Wish Spell not being in the game, which it wouldn't surprise me if they took the easy way out, like they have been, to be honest. What we can do, maybe I should show you this during a fight, because I'm going to get into a fight, don't worry. Is there anything else I could show you right now in particular? I think we'll get into the fight.
I wouldn't dream
So, I gotta use the arrow keys again, which is silly, but it is what it is. Skip all the dialogue. Should definitely play the game.
We speak no more.
So the first fight of this expansion is coming up now, so you get a moment to prepare. Could do this. So mages have preparation spells as well for defensive, defensive spells or offensive. Spell trigger's one of them. So what I can do is choose a few spells here. I'm going to do defensive spells. Is there anything else I could do in particular that would be beneficial? For a Shadow Door on myself, so I go invisible as well. That I can't be targeted by individual spells. So we just have to wait at the moment. It's just the preparation stage for this at least, so you can get everything in order. What I am going to do, this is what I wanted to show you now. If I get a second to do it, we'll see. I don't know if I'll have enough time. Just again to show you the options you have organically in the combat. So what I'm doing now, protection from evil. So you can look at the description very quickly. Where the hell is it? Allied creatures. It protects you from summoned demonic creatures essentially. So I've got this one, Caco Fiend. If I get a second again, I don't know if I'll get time for this. He might summon it, or he might be interrupted during this cutscene. There you go, it works. So now, if I summoned this guy normally without this spell applied to my characters, it would be hostile to everyone in the arena. But because I got this applied, he is going to go ham on them. Yeah, we'll just skip through all this. So, she's hostile, she's starting to cast buffs on herself and whatever else. You got some guys behind as well, and I should get some competent weapons on me. I don't know why they've started with quarterstaffs. Now, let's see what my options are, because honestly I've just imported these guys, I haven't really looked. So my thief, make sure she goes invisible with a ring rather than... With stealth you can upgrade the ability, the innate ability to go stealth with a thief, but it's not always reliable. So what I'll do, backstab this guy.
Something you need.
What else could I do here that would be beneficial right now? This is not a particularly hard fight anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Greater Malison means they save first throws less, which means the RNG's in your favour essentially. What should I do? I could potentially knock him out with command, I don't know. Try.
Give me some direction.
Okay, he's knocked out, yeah that works, lovely. He's doing his work down here. I think I got the quintuple, yeah I did, look at that, 67, which is pretty high. I could petrify one of them potentially. He'd probably die anyway, so I don't think it matters. I got anything?
I'm waiting.
Where's the cleric? I could summon another one, I think. Actually, I'm not sure if it works with these in particular. So I'll let him do his work. I'll let him do his thing. I'll let it play out a second. So at least have him attacking him if I'm not going to cast the spell. So let's do that.
Give me some.
Let's beat the shit out of him. Right. It didn't work, that's fine, because he's almost dead, and this is about over. Like, what I can do as well, in Throne of Bhaal, you get a transformation. I've got a few transformation spells, well, one, Polymorph Self. So mages can do this as well. Again, this is all real time. I can keep an eye on all the action and pause whenever I want. It's not complicated at all. So doing this does affect your reputation, your world reputation, which can affect dialogue and things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to help Anabasu here. Just gang up on this bitch. There you go. And that's it. We can also attack him, I guess. Let's finish him off. There you go. So yeah, I think that was a decent representation of the key differences of Divinity 3 and actual Baldur's Gate, at least in terms of pacing in the combat, which is the primary factor here. Not to mention options you get in combat as well, which I also was trying to illustrate there. But the point is, that fight took me a few minutes. I was really perusing my options and taking my time. Could have killed the bitch in 30 seconds if I really wanted to, but I'm showing you some options and what you can actually do in combat and the amount of control you have. So, the fundamental point here is the only limitation you have in Baldur's Gate is yourself. Because again, you have full control of every party member's actions at all times, any given time. There's no restrictions or handicaps placed upon you when you get into a combat scenario whatsoever. You have full control over the pause button. So you are your only limitation in the game. Whereas with Divinity, they essentially put training wheels on you in a combat scenario. So you're going around the world in Divinity, la-di-da, okay, I can move over here, that's all fine. But as soon as you get into a combat scenario, oh no, now you're in combat, so we're going to take control away from you, because we don't trust you with all these options. We don't trust you to have full control over your range of options like classic good BioWare did back in the day. So yeah, you can move over here, but you don't get to attack yet. The enemy has to attack, and then maybe you can move over here and do something. But then it's the enemy's turn again. No. How about no? How about you give us control of the game and actually trust our intelligence to make these decisions with the options you're providing us? I don't understand why people are defending this garbage Larian are putting out, but that's the situation we find ourselves in. And people might say you're being a bit harsh. I find it garbage. I struggle to even watch it, so it is what it is. Like, you watch that fight at the beginning, that 10-minute fight with those goblins, just ridiculous, honestly. Complete chore, complete bore to watch as well. So I do have a bit more of good Baldur's Gate gameplay. Next fight is a dragon fight, so let's get on to that. So just in the interest of keeping up the commentary here, I didn't commentate this originally, so I'm just going through. This was to send to another friend, just because I'm trying to get people into the game too, because it's such a good game. I'm just showing over my party and just showed them a dragon fight down here, so just go for the dialogue. I'm just going to show you how easy it can be when you have a high level party. That's the only purpose of this. This is just kind of a jokey thing I was sending a friend. So this is what I was describing about time stop and how ridiculous it is. And I don't know if I cast improve alacrity. I don't think there's any need to. No, there's not. Mind Flayer change. Suck that brain out. And he's dead. What an epic, difficult dragon fight that was. Oh my god. And yeah, again, this is the kind of stuff you can experiment with. All real time, no limitations. I don't have to wait for turns to do this kind of stuff. I can just do it. Isn't that amazing? I can experiment with the combat system, get familiar with it, learn it, master it, and then beast things. I'm listening to my recording back, and I think I called improved alacrity alacracity, so let me just correct that here. So like I mentioned, there's one more almost 10-minute clip, shows the final boss of Baldur's Gate 2, so you're being warned if you don't want spoilers on that. If you just want to see the differences and all that, and high-level skills and options again, then enjoy. I'm going to leave it here, though, because that part has commentary. It's something I sent to a friend, so if it sounds like I'm talking to myself, I was actually talking to a friend. He's just not captured in the audio. So, yeah, with that said, I'll leave it there. And again, if this has convinced anyone to give Baldur's Gate Classic, real Baldur's Gate, a go, excellent. This video's done a good job as far as I'm concerned. And these are just my thoughts. So if I get comments to the contrary, and I'm sure I will get people constantly debating me in the comments. I mean, we can have a discussion, that's fine. And we'll just see how that goes. So with that said, enjoy the last 10 minutes.
Oh, yes.
I got to level 18 though, and you get some crazy... The spells you get are so fucking cool. Like Time Stop. So I'm only it's just me active right now. And this is ridiculous. So when you cast a spell, there's usually a slight cooldown, so you can't just spam spells. But this spell literally eliminates the cooldown. So it's insane, look. So I can just pause after that, and then I can just... I've also got this robe that increases my spell casting time. So I can just literally just go crazy and put out like fucking 1,000 spells. And pause in between them. If something doesn't have like any magic, well, even if things do have magic resistance, it's just like a complete fucking nuke. It is like mages, like throughout Baldur's Gate 1, mages are always good, but they definitely have weaknesses. Like in Baldur's Gate 1, there's not as many defensive spells. Like in Baldur's Gate 2, there's so many different defensive spells too. Like all these blue ones are defensive spells. So Stone Skin, I've got on. I always put that on my mages. Like as soon as if I rest, when you rest, it gets your health back and your spell castings. So this is the routine: rest, get them all together, haste. There's literally no reason not to haste the party. They get like, they're just faster. Stone Skin on both of them. If you're fighting a dragon, they tend to cast fear on you, so you can do this. Remove fear. So if somebody's in fear, you won't have control of them, so that's fucking annoying. 80 quid for that PS3, that's still not enough considering how many fucking games there are at all. This is cool too.
The light shall fall before me.
This bitch. You can summon, these are like really high level spells, so this is like the most powerful summon in the game, I believe. Her weapon, she can dispel mage effects, so if they have like defensive spells on, when she hits them it'll dispel certain effects, which is crazy in itself. She has all these, some really high level spells too. I can test her on a party member. She's not doing that much damage to Hexat here. She automatically heals too. She's such a babe. I didn't even tell her to do it and she did it.
Something you mean? I wouldn't dream. Yes.
Oh god, there's all sorts I could fucking show you. This is cool too.
Oh yes.
Blackblade Disaster. You get this sword, and it makes your proficiency with the longsword type weapon like super fucking high, so you can barely miss on some enemies. And it has a chance, I think, of disintegrating an enemy when you hit them. Like that, just completely destroying them. 10% chance too that you can drain 4 levels from an enemy and get 20 hit points back, which... See the hit points here, 91 out of 91. 20 is not bad for a fucking hit. Like a chance. 49 damage, Jesus Christ. She regenerates though. I don't know if they changed the Planetars in the Enhanced Edition, because I don't remember them regenerating that much. She was uninjured already. She regenerates like crazy.
Something you need. Yes.
But they create Planetars are ridiculous. I'm so glad they haven't fucked up this, like, improved Alacrity, which lets me cut all the spell pauses out. I'm so glad they haven't like changed some of these things, because while they may be like overpowered, they're really fucking fun. It's like that. It's not like you without challenge. There are some bosses that actually are immune to time stop. Like you'll do it and the boss will still be able to move. That's really rare. It's only usually like super bosses that have that. If you use time stop and the enemy's still moving though, you know shit's fucking real.
So we are to battle one last time. No more hiding for either of us.
I'll go through this.
That's it?
My fighter here, Dawn, actually has the same kind of sword that the Planetar has. You can make this throughout the game. You gotta do some quite specific things to be able to make it. But 25% chance that somebody will just die outright when you hit them. The Vorp will hit. It's fucking insane. 100 is even 100 is kind of fucking yourself. It's definitely worth more than that, but. It's another thing you can do. Contingency. You can make it so the spells trigger when these events happen, which is fucking cool. So you can put defensive spells, and if you're like 25% hit points, they'll automatically happen all at the same time. I know, but how many games have you got there as well? And you got a bunch of controllers. If you're happy with 100, that's fine. But you know. So see enemy, you'll hit the nearest enemy. Done.
Just as I thought. To battle with no regrets. Here.
I'll rip you apart, you wave-faced cur.
Onward then.
44, damn.
Task at hand.
He's over here. He should be.
As you will.
There he is. He could kill me though, he's got some really strong spells, so I gotta be... I've already beaten him, so it doesn't really matter.
Happy to help. To try to help anyway.
Yes, Abil.
Something you need. Of course. I wouldn't dream of it.
You are but a gnat compared to my power.
Your stun is a dust.
She finished casting.
I shall follow your... I am yours to command.
They applied 80. 80 is the max. Well, no. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. Did he imprison my Planetar? Oh, he put her in a maze. That's a little unfortunate.
I'm ready.
But... got a plan.
Yes. Fine.
Something.
What will it be?
Oh yes, his fire shield I think just ended too. So... oh no, it didn't. I killed him. Oh my god. See, I was doing like no damage, but Devour Brain, I transformed. I cast Shape Change earlier, you can transform into different things. Mind Flayers are ridiculous. I fucked him. Like, as soon as time resumes, it's gonna be over. Yeah, there you go. Fucking sucked his brain out, mate. It's I just love the ways you can do things in this game. Like the amount of ways you can approach different fights. You just don't see this kind of shit that much now, I swear.